Hello, ladies and gentlemen, craft spirit enthusiasts, and those interested in the intoxicating world of craft distilleries, cideries, meaderies, wineries, and the occasional foray into breweries. It's Rich Shane, and welcome to Fermented Adventure, the podcast, where we bring you the fascinating people that are making the mash, fermenting, distilling, bottling, pouring, and delivering to you some of the finest libations in the world. Before we get started, here are a few housekeeping items. Thank you for bringing the podcast into wherever you are and whatever you're doing. We truly are grateful that you have chosen to listen and make us part of your day. It would mean the world to us if you left a 5-star review. This helps us climb in the rankings, and it makes it easier for others to find us. Don't hesitate to leave us your comments as well. If the podcast didn't meet your expectations, tell us why. We're always striving to improve. You can find us at fermentedadventure.com. We are on Instagram and Facebook as Fermented Adventure. Email us at fermentedadventure@gmail.com. All right, FA Nation, let's meet our guest. He's Brian Makela. I'm Rich Shane. This is Fermented Adventure, the podcast. Brian, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on the podcast today, Rick. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to the conversation.
All right, anybody that sends a Hefeweizen whiskey to the house in this amazing package, you know is going to get my attention beyond the other things that we're going to try and talk about today. But you're with Bad Ideas Beverage. Bad Ideas Beverage. How did all that get started?
It's an interesting story. So my background is food science. So I have an undergraduate master's degree in food science. I've been in the food and beverage industry my entire career. In 2019, after a storied career at Diageo, where I was in technical roles for 15 years, I decided to start my first company, Formulated Ethanol Solutions. And in 2019, I grew that company up. And the focus of Formulated Ethanol Solutions was solely spirit products, formulated spirits, which is my wheelhouse. So flavored type products, spirit-based, RTDs, ready to serve, ready to drink products. And then in October of last year, so almost a year ago now, I formed Bad Ideas. And Bad Ideas, if you walk in the door of my lab here, eventually you can walk out the door from a manufacturing facility with a fully manufactured finished product. And my wheelhouse is spirits and spirit RTD, RTS, but we also get into other things like energy and non-alcoholic products. So Bad Ideas was born actually from a story working together with Will Blum at Bluebird Hardwater.
So if somebody has an idea, you're the guy that they want to go to help formulate that, to make sure that's exactly the flavor, the process is going to be dialed in. So you're saving them from making mistakes, or these are products that you can help to bring to market, right?
Absolutely. So one of the things I specialize in because of my technical background is taking into account what do consumers want from a formulation standpoint, taste. And I do work with other external partners with this, world-class bartenders, flavor companies. But with my technical background and working with this network of people, I'm able to take into account the total supply chain when we're developing something from the initial prototype or goal of concept. So we're developing something that tastes great for consumers, but a lens that I have is, what do we need to do with this product now while we're working at the bench so that we can manufacture it without issue? And that's one of the things that I specialize in. So if you look at the laboratory behind me, it's really a kitchen laboratory, because many of these ideas start in the kitchen and then eventually they get to manufacturing. So that's my company, and my competitive advantage is that total supply chain view when we're formulating things at the bench.
How did you get started in all this? Where was it that spark went off, that light bulb went off, and you said, this is a direction I'm taking in my life. This excites me.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I love food since I was a little kid. So if we go back to my childhood, I was a really skinny kid in high school and I just needed to eat. So I started taking home ec classes, and that turned into something that I love, which is cooking, and a passion for cooking, and eventually my degrees. But early on, I started creating and mixing beverages when I was a kid, mixing orange juice and Sprite and all these things. So just out of my natural curiosity, combined with the technical things that I like, it just happened. And I didn't really intend to start a company back in 2019. It was just, I'm going to do something. I'm going to start a consulting business. But my natural curiosity with beverages, my experience in the beverage industry, and particularly spirits, this was a natural combination, and the company was born.
For many, yeah, I love to eat, I love to cook. But hey, look, chemistry, science, I wish that was something that I was very well, I took to it. I didn't take to those things, but the more people I talk to today, like you, I'm almost wishing that if your lab, what you have behind you, was my science class, I would have certainly excelled in it because of the craft spirits industry and where you reside and how you help people. Your understanding of flavors, this is innovative. This is very technological. So you have the ability when people come in to really say, all right, I can already help you get to that formulation. It's just a matter of if these are ingredients that maybe you haven't worked with or with this combination, you have the ability to take them through that process, don't you?
Absolutely. And I'm actually doing that today with a new client. So I like working with botanicals and real ingredients. I also do a lot of work with flavors, natural flavors. I spent a year in my career working at a flavor company at Flavors North America. But when you're working with new ingredients, particularly botanicals, and we'll talk a bit about the Hefeweizen whiskey, there's a lot of skill required to understand what happens when you combine alcohol in these plants. So much of the experimentation that I do in the lab here. And I just ran an experiment today on a botanical extraction that needed a certain type of filtration to remove materials that eventually would come out of solution and you'd have floaties in the product. So those are the kind of things that, because of my background and understanding, plus the equipment and facilities I have here, I'm able to experiment with. In addition, so that's the technical piece, in addition to helping people get to the right taste.
You brought up natural flavoring. I believe that's what people really want to have in what they're consuming. It's not the artificials. It's not the and other ingredients label that goes into things. It's the natural flavors that are you finding that, yes, those conversations are most of what you're having right now?
100%. So the clients that I work with, and comes from my personal belief in having a food background. My personal belief is that you should be eating real food made from real ingredients with real stories. The people that I work with, and we'll talk about a couple of the companies today, Bluebird, Hardwater, Bonbrecker, and many others, they believe the same thing because consumers want that. Things have gotten more expensive. They want real things. They don't want the fake stuff. They want the real stuff, the good stuff, because it's gotten more expensive. Plus, people have become very health conscious. And in the spirits industry, premiumization has just skyrocketed. And as a result of that, people want real ingredients. They don't want the things that you can't pronounce.
I find that as you talk about, being more health conscious and being more aware of what's going into my body, yes, using natural ingredients, there may be a sourcing issue. How do you help with that to try to establish a flavor or an idea somebody has or something you have and making sure that you can continue to have this quality of a natural source product?
Yeah, that's always a challenge. I'm actually working on an energy drink right now that has a similar challenge with that. So there are a lot of raw materials that vary lot to lot, fruits, things like that, vary season to season. So one of the things that I have is a network of people in procurement, but also just personally, that can go out and look, what are the different suppliers of these raw materials, look at technical specifications to compare ingredient to ingredient, and really understand, okay, if this ingredient is no longer in supply, or if we're facing a supply risk, what are our opportunities to mitigate those risks, whether it be a raw material like a botanical or a fruit, but also things like tequila as well. So I have a network of people that I work with that help me do that. And I have the technical understanding how to compare different materials and make sure they're of the highest quality.
So much today has been brought up about natural sweeteners versus artificial sweeteners, the different properties. And I think we're going to geek out a little bit because this is somewhere and somewhere I love to have conversations about natural flavoring versus artificial flavoring. As it applies to the spirits, how does that fall within how you're helping what you're doing or others?
I won't work with artificial flavors. Now, I work for a flavor company. Here's the thing. The flavor industry is regulated by FEMA. So what you're consuming isn't necessarily going to harm you per se, but some things are not as good for you. And particularly in the spirits industry and in the flavor industry. So my preference is always working with natural ingredients, which can be challenging because of the properties of them. Artificial ingredients, artificial sweeteners generally have better stability, they're lower cost, but when you see them on a label or when you consume them, they generally taste different. They're not as appealing. And if you can't pronounce them, you're wondering, what am I putting in my body? Am I putting a chemical in my body? And if I'm putting a chemical in my body, what effect is that having? So my preference, and just something that I focus on as a company, is using as natural sources as possible, because I believe that food is medicine, and that although I do have a background in food science, I like less science, more art, more nature now. And it's something that shifted over my career.
So when it comes to the sweeteners that you're working with, honey, pure cane sugar, maybe the agave, nectar, all those things, the natural sources that you're going to use versus trying to create that sweeter palate for an unnecessary reason, just to kind of stretch maybe a budget or just take things and put them in a place that they don't belong.
100%. So things like agave nectar, really important sweetener. If we're going to use a high intensity sweetener, it's stevia, so that it comes from a natural source. So things like sucralose, although a very stable product, which is also known as Splenda, is chlorinated sucrose. People knew that Splenda is chlorinated sucrose versus you just want sugar and maybe a little bit less sugar to shave calories, but it tastes good. I think consumers make that choice that they prefer to have sugar. But there's an education piece for them to understand, well, what are these ingredients that I'm consuming and what are they really? That's what I help do. But in terms of formulation, I focus on natural sweeteners, cane sugar, agave nectar, some of the natural high intensity sweeteners like stevia, monk fruit.
Again, I'm so impressed by whatever all that is behind you. Are there things that you've thought about, ideas you've had that you said, wow, this is a great idea, but didn't work or didn't transfer from the creative side to actually coming through as a product?
Wow, it's a really good question. It's I need to think about that one for a little bit. The products that tend to fail, let's call it failure. Let's put it this way. I have a lot of good ideas, and these products, some non-alcoholic. The biggest challenge in industry is you may have a great idea, but sometimes it's very difficult to execute it at a manufacturing level. And this is actually a really good transition into Bluebird Hardwater when we get to talk about that. So there are products that just, you can't invent science to get through manufacturing and have the stability and shelf life to have them come to market. Early on in my career, and so to answer your question, early on in my career, one of the products that I had to put together was a lemon drop martini premix cocktail. So ready to drink cocktail. The pH of the liquid and the lemon flavors that we were using were so unstable that it didn't have the shelf life. And ultimately, when we had to make a decision to launch it, we didn't launch it because it didn't have the stability. So answering your question more specifically, low pH, high citrus and citral containing products like a lemon drop martini are extremely difficult to produce and get through the supply chain of the spirits industry. Those I see failing, and I've seen products where we've had to stop bringing them to market because they didn't have the shelf life they needed.
I hear ideas all the time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you on speed dial, Brian, because before I have them go out there and try, I'm going to say, talk to Brian first. He's probably, he's done this and been successful, or he's done this and it didn't work. Save yourself some time and have just this consultation, and maybe what you're going to have is going to be so much better of a product than you imagine. All right, so you talk about ingredients. I was at the ADI conference down in Baltimore a couple of months ago, and one of the conversation was, let's say, botanicals, and talking about ingredients that are going into gin. It was presented that there are 4 gins now, or 4 spirits that include ants in their botanical mix. Have you worked with any insects or anything of that nature and created a cocktail or a beverage out of them?
I unfortunately or fortunately have not worked with any insects in any of the innovations that I've worked on. I usually try to keep the insects out of the products that go through the manufacturing facility. So, I steer clear of that stuff, but it's a really interesting innovation for sure.
I'll tell you what, I think part of the conversation that you may have is everybody wants to be so different, like just change, make a little bit of a right turn that people are going to go, wow, that's so different. But I find that what's the most important about being different is when you have flavor, character, that really makes you different, because a lot of what we've tried just falls short on, maybe trying to stretch the product by adding a little bit more water, or, maybe not the best ingredients. And I think it really comes down, you can provide something with flavor, character, something that makes people go, wow, I wasn't expecting that. And I think you've got an edge on the competition, the edge on what people are producing. You've said it a couple of times already, this Bluebird hard water, there's a tequila and there's a vodka. We've got the tequila lime, the vodka cranberry, tequila and pineapple, tequila pineapple. Hey, it's a Monday. Where should we go first, Brian?
Well, I would go with the tequila pineapple. I think that's one of the winners. Tequila, all the products are great. Tequila is just on fire in the United States right now. The tequila and pineapple, if you're a fan of pineapple, is a great product. And the awesome thing about Bluebird hard water is it's not carbonated, so it's still. So many of the ready to drink products are carbonated, so it's easier drinking. It's 4.5% alcohol, so it's not really strong. And it's a spirit-based product. So there's a lot of credibility with spirit versus some of the seltzers on the market. The last thing is hard water is a completely white space. There is no other hard water brand out there, only this Bluebird hard water. So, and there's a story behind that too.
On the nose, this takes me back to something as a child, some sort of pineapple hard candy that just hit me on the nose. And I've been trying to think of what that hard candy was. This in itself, you talk about being a space that there's no other product. The innovation here, how did this come about?
So the hard water category is something, so Will Blum is the CEO of Bluebird Hard Water. Bluebird Hard Water was born because of Will's interest to have non-carbonated, low alcohol products that were easier to drink. So you don't get bloated. It's refreshing when you drink it. So it's not carbonated, refreshing. The first line of products, there were three. There is a vodka water, a whiskey water, and a tequila water. This is the second iteration of Bluebird Hard Water with natural flavors, real fruit juice, no carbonation. So very clean product. So the idea is, instead of filling your belly with a lot of carbonation, you can have more than one of these. They're not high in alcohol. They're refreshing. They're great for the beach and for people with an active lifestyle.
I'm filing a complaint that we haven't spoken sooner, because it's October now. Beach season's over. But I want to be hitting the beach right now every single time with this. This is almost like one of those things that, yeah, we love RTDs and we like to drink them on the beach, and it's just a fun thing to do. Also, I think that, as you mentioned about bloating and just feeling full, you can have one, maybe two. What this really does is, first of all, you get the juiciness, the tequila component, the character of the tequila. You get the pineapple, a wonderful marriage of both flavors. What doesn't sneak up on me is my head's going, where are the bubbles? And it's not there. And I can go, well, let me just keep drinking more and enjoy this on every sip. And I can certainly see we need to just reinvent summer so it starts now. So I can get the next 3 or 4 months to enjoy this. This is wonderful. Why do you think that, from the conception of this, and I guess it's going out to the world, people know about it. Why aren't more people trying to create this? Or is it just you're the mad scientist and people haven't figured it out like you have?
Well, it comes from real stories. So Will's interest to have something that didn't have carbon dioxide in it because of the carbonic acid burn, it was a real story that he wanted to create something. And much of what I do is born out of my own personal experiences as well. So I think a lot of the innovation is based on consumer insight, but so much of the breakthrough is based on real people's stories that have an idea, but it resonates with other people. And I think Bluebird is an example of that. Healthier lifestyle, active. If you see the advertising and marketing behind the product, it's for people that are out there surfing. It's for after your mountain bike ride. It's enjoyable responsibly, but also without the bubbles. So you're not getting all full from drinking one or two of these after you go out doing something athletic and you're just kicking back afterwards.
Which one should we go to next?
I think the vodka lime is the next
Vodka
one.
lime.
Mhm.
Okay. I love that sound of just opening up a can. It makes me feel like I've accomplished something for the day.
Yeah, and that's one of the tricky things too on this product because it's not carbonated and the carbonation, and I'm going to geek out a little bit on the science. When you have a carbonated product, it pressurizes the can, so the can's not squishy. When you have an uncarbonated product in a can like this, you actually have to put a little drip of liquid nitrogen in the headspace to pressurize the can during filling, so you don't have a squishy can. And that sound that you hear is from the liquid nitrogen.
I'm just having so much fun with this. I really am. I'm learning so much. Now, to me, this is a thirst quencher. Like you're talking about, I just came off, if I surfed, I just came off, I'm looking for a little bit of, I'm done for the day, but I'm still thirsty. And, I've been surfing for the last hour or so. This is refreshing. This really is. And I hate to sound surprised because this is something that I haven't had before and I'm really, really enjoying. Are there other, I mean, this is vodka, this is tequila. You mentioned the whiskey brand. So what's the component of the whiskey brand? What are the flavors there?
So the original lineup, and they were done in a 12-ounce standard beer can. It was simply vodka water, tequila water, whiskey water, and they're still in market right now. The flavors are the evolution, and that was and that was the original idea behind the brand was two ingredients, as simple as it gets, as low a calorie as you can get, 4% alcohol, no sugar, just hard water. That's it. These products are the flavor evolution of that, which is, I think, what consumers wanted more. The interesting thing about the hard water category in the original products, combining two ingredients in the case of the originals and having something that's stable throughout shelf life, we ended up patenting a process to manufacture those products because it was such a technical challenge. So that was the real innovation breakthrough that led us to the next generation of Bluebird hard water with the flavors.
See, I knew there was something. You said you had to patent it. Now I know why nobody else is doing this because they have to figure this out or buy the rights to the patent to be able to make it for themselves.
Yeah, it's hard water is a very tricky product to make. And one of the reasons being many of the ready to drink products on the market that are low alcohol use chemical preservatives. These products do not contain chemical preservatives. They're pasteurized. They're low alcohol. They have a touch of juice in them to make sure that they're as fresh as possible, that when the consumer opens it up, it tastes as good as it can. There's a real art to it and a science to it. And through the original Bluebird hard water, we had to figure out how to make this product as fresh as possible. We patented the Bluebird hard water process, or it's in process right now. And then that was the launching pad to the Bluebird hard water flavors. But we had to learn all of these things to get to this product so that what you're drinking right now is as fresh as possible.
88 calories, at least that's what it says here on my tequila lime. And again, for those health conscious, for those low ABV conscious, for those that are saying, you know what, I want an alternative, something different. I just want to stand out. I want to be a little bit different from the crowd. This is certainly something that I see being there. Although no protein, man. How do we figure out to get some protein in here? What do we need to do?
Well, you can put a little collagen in there if you want it, but I don't know how stable it would be. But I'm a big fan of collagen.
You touched upon shelf stability. You've spoken about that a number of times. How long? I mean, you can't speak for everybody, but how long should I be keeping a canned item, let's say like this Bluebird? How long can it stay? I'm not going to drink all these. How long can they stay in a cool, dark place or a cool place?
Well, 12-month shelf life minimum with these products. It depends. Again, if you're putting these in your hot car in the summer, you're cooking them. So the environment that you put them in can abuse the product, but 12-month shelf life.
I think I gravitate that tequila. I have the tequila lime and the vodka lime. I'm more gravitate. I think for me, to the tequila flavor.
Hmm.
It's just a personal preference, but both are very good. And this one's more like, all right, all I need to do is maybe sprinkle some salt here on the rim every time I
Yeah.
take a sip, and I've got my own little built-in margarita water.
Yeah. Well, I think you hit on one of the things that people do is salt the rim on those because it does give
Do
a
they
bit of a
really?
margarita. Yeah, they give a bit of a margarita experience. So you nailed it.
All right. The next thing I say, everybody else is going to be doing already. I mean, have you come up with the whiskey old-fashioned water yet?
Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. The whiskey is the trickiest one to make, and it's an interesting product. It's also the most expensive to make because whiskey is super expensive. Tequila is also expensive, but whiskey is really expensive. I don't know. I mean, Will and the Bluebird team are super creative people, super energetic. We're sure they've got some other things in the works that we'll be working on in the future.
I don't see a still behind you. Is there one
Mhm.
in your facility there that you're distilling things before they go into a larger mass situation?
So I have a custom glass still set up to do rapid prototyping. I don't have something that like a big still, but if I want to make an extract and I need to distill it over, I have a custom glass still set up to be able to do that. Yes.
Ryan, who inspires you? Who motivates you?
Well, that's a really good question. There's so many people that I interact with that motivate me and have come into my life that are entrepreneurs. Really, the entrepreneurial spirit and the people that I work with that have great ideas. Will's one of them, and Will and I I've been a client of his and a friend of his. People that have that entrepreneurial mind that are into things other than beverages, that really inspires me. So many people that I've worked with over the years too that are at beverage companies that just have great ideas that we bounce things off of. You know, athletes really inspire me though too because I'm an athlete. I'm a mountain biker. So many athletes, people into performance, entrepreneurs that have kind of crazy ideas. I mean, even like one of my favorite entrepreneurs, and this has nothing to do with spirits, are the guys at Dude Wipes. I see those guys on LinkedIn and the product they make, and I think that is one of the most amazing insights that I've ever seen. And it's people like that that find those real insights and then go execute it because an idea is an idea, but you have to be able to go execute that idea to make it happen. And so people that take that idea and all the way through execution, those are people that really inspire me.
You know, you talk about that. Cherry Hill, New Jersey is not far from where we are. Scrub Daddy, you know, that
Mm,
cleaning scrubber thing that, all right, everybody has one of these, but they took a little bit different, like Dude Wipes. It's just thinking a little bit outside the box and saying,
exactly.
let's, like, this is water, but it's tequila water, it's vodka water. And it's just, wow, how come I didn't think about that? And
It,
just
exactly.
amazing
So,
stuff, inspiration.
sometimes, absolutely. Sometimes it's the simplest ideas that you've been thinking about, and you realize, why don't I just go do that? And then you go try it and you talk to people about it and have them try it, and they go, wow, this is really good. And suddenly you have something that you can bring to market. One of the things that I do is I work with local entrepreneurs nearby me. And there's a boba shop owner. I unfortunately wasn't able to send you product. And she works with me to rapid prototype products, ready to drink products that she makes in her boba shop. So I love working with entrepreneurs like that that make great products and then connecting with them and then helping bring some of my skill and my ability to help create new products.
All right, I'm going to do it because some listeners are thinking, what is boba? What is boba?
That's a really good question. Well, boba is like I like a tea-based product that has little tapioca pearls or they've got little bubble pearls in it.
Okay.
It's Asian inspired drink and they've got little chewy bits in it and things like that. So I don't know what the actual definition of boba is, but that's my definition.
Haven't had it. I'll seek it out and try it, and then I can say at least I know what boba is too.
Oh,
These tequila waters, the vodka waters, is Bluebird distilling their own? Are they sourcing what they're utilizing, and is that part of
so
the conversation too?
so we're sourcing the spirits for these products and we go through a very rigorous process of tasting different vodkas, tasting different tequilas to use for these products to get the taste just right. And so we're not distilling it ourselves, but we're sourcing it from high quality suppliers of these materials for sure.
I opened the vodka cranberry and there was this area where I'm at filled up with this wonderful cranberry note,
Mm.
and it almost like somebody snuck off the bottle top or the can top of the Ocean Spray, and I got cranberry sauce on my nose. Are there other flavors or are there other items? I mean, you've been gracious to send us these for. Are there other flavors or things in the works or on the market right now?
So there's those four in the lineup right now. Who knows? These are doing really well. They're in California right now in retail, in Tennessee, in Florida. So we'll see what the future holds. But knowing Will and the Bluebird team, and as well as these products are performing in market, I wouldn't be surprised if we see new innovations in the future.
All right, you talked about those handful of states, and with the Bluebird product, can people order them from a website? Can they get them sent to their house?
It's not direct to consumer. One of the reasons being is that just the cans and the product are heavy, so the shipping costs are really expensive. It's a regional launch right now in various states, but eventually you will see this nationally at the rate that this is selling.
I can't
Doing
wait.
really well.
I can't
Yeah.
wait to see this on the Jersey Shore. I can't wait to see this taken the Jersey store by storm because I think that people would really appreciate this and
Absolutely.
value this. This is delicious. This cranberry, I think they've all been good, but I'm a cranberry guy. I love the notes of a cranberry, and I think we're heading into the fall, so I don't have to drink this on the beach. This could be hey, I'm drinking in between my dram, my cocktail, whatever. This is my in-between refresher. This is I got to hydrate, but still keep drinking.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's an insight. Now, I don't drink anymore. I used to drink for many years, but that insight that you talk about, where you're drinking something a little bit stronger, or you're drinking something, you had a few beers and you get that kind of bitter taste. These can be a great changeover, kind of like a sorbet in between courses. You kind of clean things out, reset, and drink something that is a little less strong and kind of take it easy.
Right. I'm just going with the hydration angle. So when Dawn says to me, hey, slow down, I'm like, it's tequila water. I'm hydrating. It's okay. I'm allowed. All right. So speaking of something a little bit more, I want to say Bonbrecker. Did I say that correctly?
Bonbrecker. Nailed it.
Bonbrecker. Hefeweizen whiskey. Now talk about the process of this and coming up with this delicious. I haven't had it yet, but I know it's going to be delicious. What is all this?
Yeah, so Bonbrecker is a really amazing brand. The team at Bonbrecker, Steve Lutman, who's the CEO, and Michael Devers, the COO, a few years ago, we got together and they had started developing this product and they needed some assistance to help make it as stable as possible. The great thing about Bonbrecker, it's made with multiple whiskeys, Texas whiskey, made with real ingredients. There's clove in it, there's lemon peel, there's sugar, and it's a very good product because of the ingredients that it's used in the formulation. And this was one of those products that was born from a kitchen recipe working with a world-class bartender. And I think that's a great way to go about identifying what is the initial formula you're going to work with an amazing bartender, or experimenting in your own kitchen when you're having parties. And we translated this drink into a product now that's been in manufacturing for a couple of years. So there's notes of clove, there's notes of lemon, the different Texas whiskeys that are in there. And it's a really multifaceted product. It can be drank cold, can be drank with soda. But one of the serves is with Dr. Pepper.
Say that part again about the Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper and Bonbrecker. That's one of the signature serves, believe it or not.
Really?
Really.
All these episodes, over 200 episodes, nobody has mentioned Dr. Pepper or has utilized that as an addition. All right, Steve Lutman, Hercules Mulligan, they just opened
Absolutely.
up their location in Manhattan, and a great guest. Love Hercules Mulligan, but I'm nosing this and I can see this was the first child to come out of that innovation that set the path for what Hercules Mulligan and their for what their expressions are providing now. That's what I get from this.
Yeah, Hercules is doing really well. I actually met with Steve and visited the Herc in New York a few weeks ago. And he's done an amazing job with focusing on real ingredients, real products like Hercules Mulligan, like Bonbrecker, and other things that he's working on. I really enjoy working with him because of that.
So is the basis, or is there some sort of connection to a Hefeweizen in this bottle?
I think the taste profile like that, like a Hefeweizen beer, sometimes served with the fruit. It's got kind of a citrusy note to it. I think that lemon kind of gives you some of that. The cloves, you get things like eugenol. So it's not a one for one Hefeweizen beer, although it would go really good with the Hefeweizen beer. But that citrus plus the Bonbrecker name, and the heritage being German kind of plays to that beer style.
I absolutely love the nose on this. I'm afraid to start drinking this because I just enjoying the nose totally as everything you describe. But in my head, I'm trying to figure out how I can meld my memory of Dr. Pepper in with this nose to try to come together with them. I haven't done this in a while. A shameless plug, a little bit off track of what we're talking about. Again, I want to shout out to Scott Wishart of Scott's Mini Woodshop for providing our Glen Cairns today. He'll be happy to hear me mention him. It always raises the level of what we're trying with a Scott Wishart provided product. I know when he comes back to the house and he finds this on the bar, this is gone. So I may need to stock up on this. He drinks us out of house and home, which we really appreciate. So thanks, Scott. So of the Bonbrecker line, is this one of the only things you're working on, or are there other things that they're providing?
So we have some other things in the works right now that are going to be coming out in the near future. So stay tuned for that. But what I do want to talk about is the experience of Bonbrecker. So one of the things that the company is doing is putting together a small tasting and bottling room in Texas, because it's so important for consumers to be able to experience the products in an environment. So that's something that I'm working on with the team, is being able to create this consumer experience. They'll have a small distillery set up, not a big one, small bottling facility and tasting room. And I'm going to work together with them to help bring new expressions under the Bonbrecker brand for people to taste at that. And there will be new innovations in the future. Yes.
This is outstanding.
Thank you.
So one of the things that my thoughts are starting to say, this ready to drink classic or ready to drink cocktail in a bottle seems to be more prevalent. And is that where you see things being cutting edge? Is that something in what you're talking to people? It's not just the ready to drink cans, but these, this is shelf stable. I mean, this will last for years and years and years.
Right.
Is this something that seems to be more of a conversation that, yeah, we have a Tennessee whiskey, or we have a Kentucky bourbon, or we have a Pennsylvania rye, but you know what? We want to be, again, a little bit different. So maybe we can make this with these other flavors and components, that this could be the go-to. This is just, I have no problem sticking this bottle now on the bar when I'm away. And I know if somebody wants to put an ice cube there, or a little soda, as you talked about, they have their own little cocktail. We don't have to worry about having all these ingredients, and they're going to be happy with it every single time.
100%. And I think the ready to drink, ready to serve, particularly with spirits, and Steve has nailed it with the products, and Michael, people want easy. Now, there are people that want and have all the ingredients at home to make very complex cocktails. But there's also people that just want an easy serve. And they may not know what to mix a straight bourbon with or a straight rye, but they know if I have Bonbrecker, I could chill it, or I could put it on a cube, or I can mix it with Dr. Pepper. And it's going to give me an interesting experience and taste, right? The Dr. Pepper thing throws you.
I'm telling you what, Brian, you woke up today saying, how can I work Dr. Pepper into the conversation? You're working that hard.
Yeah. Or even a Manhattan, but it makes it easy for people, rather than having to have all these ingredients, and to make a simple serve at home. When you're hosting something, you want to be able to create not the exact same thing that everybody else is doing, but you want it to be easy. And these RTD, RTS products are the way to do it.
The blend, are they bourbons? Are they ryes?
I can't get into the specific details of the individual marks, but there are definitely different styles that are in there. And it gives it the complexity of the product for sure.
We talk Texas, but I still get what I believe is this smoky char to this that reminds me of the Lincoln County process. It's coming through. You're smiling. Why are you smiling?
Well, I'm sure you do get those notes. You're an expert taster.
No more of an expert than, well, I'm less of an expert as you. You're a food scientist. But no, again, it may be a high char on the barrels,
Could
but
be.
so when you take the cloves, you take the lemon. To me, what
Yes.
they're doing is they're amplifying, and maybe the clove is what brings that spiciness to the higher level that provides my palate to say, is there a rye in here? Because I get that spiciness to this. This formulation is I just want to sip it, find new things in here, and take out more from this. This is just wonderful. So thank you, and I can't wait to see
You're
more
welcome.
of the expressions that you're working on.
Thank you.
All right, so let's see. These aren't the only two companies you're working with. Are there other companies you want to highlight, or some other works in the process that you have?
Yeah, I think for today, these are the ones that I really want to highlight. But my specialty is ready to drink, ready to serve cocktails. I do work with other companies that have some really amazing products out on the market. I think maybe at a later episode, we'll talk about some of those products and just focus on these today.
So tune in. Brian's coming back every week, and he's going to bring the innovation of what he does and the brands that he works with to our podcast. We're just going to call this Rich and Brian talk about the mad science work that you're doing. That would be
I
fun.
love it.
These are two wonderful experiences, and I'm grateful for that. Brian, is there anything we haven't talked about on the podcast today? Anything you want listeners to know more about you or Bad Ideas Beverage?
Yes. So I think what I'd like listeners to understand is if I'm very easy to work with and my company is very easy to work with, if you have an idea and DM me, reach out to me, send me a message. I talk to anybody, and it may be a really bad idea and we'll figure that out, or it may be the next big thing. But for the people that are listening to this, please reach out. I'll have a conversation with anybody and we'll see where it goes.
I appreciate that, because I think people have ideas. And I said this earlier on the podcast, what seems to be taking a front seat driver kind of a way in the industry is you don't have to spend hundreds of $1,000s to set up your own distillery. And you don't have to, sit in your kitchen and play and cook and try to figure this out on your own. There are so many resources like you and your Bad Ideas Beverage, Brian, that really help people save time. It's certainly worth the investment to sit down with you and say, I've been thinking about this. You then take this and say, all right, you can have somebody contract and make this for you now, and you can have your own brand. That's really one 100%. Of the things that you provide without having to say, well, how many times do I have to screw this up and have somebody look at me and go, this sucks. What were you thinking?
Yeah.
Why'd you waste your time?
Well, one of the things that I am is I'm very honest, sometimes to a fault, and also very trusting. But if we have a conversation and I hear something and I know it's been done before, or I think the challenges are insurmountable, I'll tell you that. Rather than you spend all this time, money, and effort doing something that may not work out. But at the same time, if there is something that it's a possibility, and I like to think about what are the possibilities today, I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to be honest with you. And then we can figure out a plan. How do we make it a reality?
Yeah, because the shelf space, it's crowded.
Very.
Cans everywhere, bottles everywhere. And you're also competing with people that have different, they want to drink mead, they want to drink cider, they want to drink all their things that they want to drink. Come to market with something that is already going to be a first-rate product that can stand up against all the other competition, because it is competition.
100%. I think the most important thing, and what many people do that they don't focus on, is the quality of the liquid itself. And people buy because of the brand. People may recommend it. They like what's in it. But if it's not good, meaning it's not high quality, it may have a great story, may have a cool label. But after that first drink, people aren't going to go back and consume it again. So I think creating the best product, the highest quality is the most important. And that's what I focus on.
All right. Can you help me start bringing whiskey pops, frozen whiskey pops to the market?
That's going to be a tricky one, but never say never. I know there's been a lot of slushy products out on the market.
I just want to watch people in the summer walk around with a whiskey pop. Man, that would be so much fun. Brian, this has been awesome. Cool. This has been great. Thank you. I'm so grateful for your time today, and in whatever way Steve Lutman helped bring us together. I'm glad that happened, and I look forward to having more conversations with you. Who knows? I may be calling you. Whiskey Pops, man. Let's make this happen.
Whiskey Pops it is. Thank you, Mark.
All right. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you later. But every time we crack open one of these bluebirds, we'll be thinking about them and you and all that you're doing. And again, thanks for this wonderful bottle of whiskey. This is delicious.
Amazing. Thank you for having me. Have a great day today.
Cheers.
Cheers.